All right, welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, and this is
Dr. Crystal.
And we're going back to the basics today.
We love these back to the basics shows.
Foundational nutrients.
Yes, we covered vitamin C in the past.
NAD,
magnesium.
and now we're going to talk about vitamin B12. As you know, a lot of people call it the energy nutrient or vitamin or something that, right?
Yeah, all my family.
Yeah.
I need some. Do you have some B12?
You got
some of that B12.
Daddy, come on, hit me. I need some B.
I know.
But that's kind of true.
Right.
And we're gonna help. Hopefully, we're gonna try to explain it so you really understand what's going on with this foundational vitamin, right?
Yeah.
So on today's show, we're gonna talk about exactly that: vitamin B12 and energy. We always go back to food, right? Got to do that, and then we're gonna talk about different forms that you might want to add into your routine.
Now, I have a surprise for Dr. Mike.
Hannah, I don't like this. Oh, you did. Is that the
B12 shots to start our show? We can make a toast to B12.
That's a lot.
Took the label off.
That's a heavy shot.
But we can. There's no alcohol in here, by the way. It's
why not?
Just B12.
Cheers.
All right, cheers. A little caffeine.
Ooh. You drank the whole thing? That didn't taste bad at all.
I'm ready for the show.
So we should see if our energy goes up.
Yes.
As we're doing this. I can't believe you did that whole thing. It's all good.
Well,
good.
That's what it's a shot.
There we go.
That's what you're supposed to do.
So let's go. Let's first talk. You're the nutritionist. I always refer to you to give us, good basic definitions. Like what is B12?
Yeah, so it is a water-soluble vitamin, the largest and most complex when you look at the structure of vitamin B12. Collectively, they're called cobalamins. So when you're thinking about the different forms, you'll see cobalamins because they all contain cobalt.
Yeah, that's kind of the root in the name.
Right.
Yeah.
The mineral cobalt.
And when we were talking, I think it was about vitamin C, we decided we wanted to educate people on what vitamins really do in the body because no one really understands that, right? We all know we need them, but they're coenzymes, right? But when you say that, people are like, what does that mean? What is a coenzyme?
Yeah, so the enzymes, you kind of think those are kind of the catalyst for reactions in the body.
Yeah,
they make things happen.
We have a graphic, right?
But those enzymes can't work without coenzymes.
Coenzymes. So that right there, I know that doesn't look fancy or anything, but A plus B turning into C, that's what your body, that's what cells do all the time, all day long, right?
All day.
That could be energy being made, proteins being synthesized, right? It's just we are a chemical factory.
That's right.
And coenzymes are needed to help that reaction happen along with the enzymes.
Yes.
They partner up and help each other.
Yeah, so when you think about B vitamins or B12 in particular, that's lays that framework for you being able to live and breathe and just perform and reactions happen in your body.
B12 overall, very important for red blood cells.
Right. Red blood cell maturation, DNA function, as well as just energy production.
Nervous system too, yeah.
Right, nervous system as well. You do find when people are deficient in B12, they start having nervous system issues, maybe some tingling, maybe even neuropathy.
Yeah, some people get numbness in their feet and their toes and stuff like that. Let's get into, first of all, food first. We always say that, and that's important to us. We want to get our basic foundation nutrients first from food. I love the sources of B12. I love these food sources.
Yes. Well, it's going to be animal products. One of the richest sources of B12, clams.
Love clams.
Mussels.
Love mussels.
Milk.
Cheese.
He loves cheese. He was so excited. When I said milk, he was like, cheese, right?
Yeah, cheese.
Does that mean cheese? So meat. But notice, we're not talking about any plant foods.
Yeah, this becomes an issue for vegans for sure, right?
Vegans for sure, strict vegetarians.
Yeah.
Because you find B12 in eggs, but if you're really strict and you're eliminating eggs, then you probably are missing out on B12 as well. So vegans, now there is some research showing that maybe fermented vegetables, maybe even some fermented
that makes sense, fermentation.
Right, because B12 is made by bacteria.
Fermentation, right? So that does make sense. Again, probably not a whole lot.
No, no. Back in my vegan days, I always added in.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were
remember?
I forgot.
I always added in nutritional yeast.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
And so that's a common vegan source.
How long did you do? Where did you practice?
About a year and a half.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I'm really strict. I mean, I would not. My poor mom. I would come home. I'm like, I can't eat that food.
Oh, and then that's why you decided not to do, because you wanted to be nice to your mom.
I do. So.
All right. So now we always go from food first. But then we also like to talk about this idea of a nutritional gap, right? Because our food sources, in this case of B12, yes, they're good sources, but it's still not that, they're not like rich in B12, right?
Right. They're not rich in B12. And then as we get older, 50, 60, we can't absorb the food B12, food-bound B12.
Yeah, we just lose that ability.
Right. Yeah. We need gastric. It's
very complex
process.
It's very complex, and so it's a complex system for getting B12 into your system, right?
Right.
And just the older you get, it's just not as efficient. I mean, that's pretty much it.
That's the way of it.
Yeah.
So then you have to start thinking about, how can I add this into my routine?
Yeah. And so we have so when you do that, you got to start looking at different forms of B12. We have a nice chart. I like this chart a lot. You got the types of B12s that you'll find far to the left, and then on the other side, you got natural form. Is it bioactive? And then what I think is really important is the number of conversion steps. And what that means is those top two, right? They have to go through 3 and 4 steps to become active.
Right, and when we say active, that's the form that the body can readily use.
That's the form that's going to help that reaction.
That's right. Yeah. Get in, get to work. And so I like to focus on those bottom 2 forms.
Yeah.
In particular. The methylcobalamin form is the form that's helping with this process with turning on and off genes.
Methylation.
The adenosylcobalamin, that's a form that's all about energy production.
Yeah. And not to get too complex about it, but some people like that, right? It's called the Krebs cycle. This is a cycle in the mitochondria that helps to take food into energy. That's where that form is
and there's some research with the adenosylcobalamin with longevity and helping to support dopamine.
See, that's
one of our neurotransmitters, our brain chemicals that helps with desire and motivation.
Yeah.
And the adenosylcobalamin can help with that.
So I mean, at the end of the day, look for those 2 bottom ones if you want to add these to your routine. Now, let's get to the idea about energy, right?
Yeah.
Because this is like your own family. I need my B12 shot, whatever.
By the way, my shot's kicking in.
Wait, you may be hurting my theory here. Hold on. No. Because we can get into the formal phrasing of all this, but if I may, just in real general terms, there's kind of 2 types of energy.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you're about to get philosophical on us.
No. It's just there's outward energy. That's what people are usually referring to, like caffeine. Boom, you get up, you're moving around. Yeah. But then there's another type of energy, which is really about energy at the cell level, making cellular energy called ATP. B12 is really helping with that cellular energy.
Right, but when you start thinking about the dopamine, Dr. Mike, it's helping with both. Yeah. And I think that's why people love B12 so much, because yes, it's helping with energy production and metabolism and just kind of keeping you revved up from a cellular perspective. But B12 also gives you that feeling of vitality and that feeling of mental stamina. And maybe that's some of the dopamine
that's a good point.
Kicking in, that's kind of helping you on both ends of that energy spectrum.
And I think it also depends on, what your level of B12 is too, right? If you're a vegan or you're an aging adult, 50s, 60s, your level could be pretty low. That's when if you take a lot of B12 at that moment, you will feel some energy from that. But if you continue to include especially those active forms in your routine, at some point your body levels off.
Right.
And it's feeding more the cell energy now more than that outward, I think, energy. Yeah. So that's probably where a lot of people, they do those. You could go to the mall and get B12 shots.
There are stores now.
Yeah.
Where that's
yeah. And people probably go like once a month. They get a shot and they feel, and so their B12 levels shoot up. They feel better, but then they don't add on a daily basis to their routine those forms, and that level drops over time. Now they need another shot. So it's kind of like they're doing this with the B12. I think it's better to be steady.
I agree, Dr. Mike. And then there's the whole idea is, do you really need the shots, or can you add it into your routine just in other ways? I
think, depending on, back in my days of practicing medicine and stuff, for me, the shots would be something you would use for somebody who's definitely really low. Get blood tested. Yeah. It's really low. Do a shot once, boost it up, and then you maintain by adding it to the daily routine with those active forms, right? I would do like a combination. Eventually, my goal, daily intake of those key forms. Yeah. Keep in mind, we do know low B12 is associated with the perception of physical and mental fatigue.
Very true.
Yeah. So, so you're feeling it.
I'm feeling it. I am.
Yeah, I think I am too.
But it doesn't take. But maybe it's my brain.
Placebo. No.
Perception. But I'm feeling good.
Your eyes are pretty.
I'm like, I'm ready to go.
Your eyes are pretty wide. You're looking at me like, woo. All right. One of the things we wanted to discuss, though, this is a big health benefit of B12, and that is maintaining healthy homocysteine levels.
Right, and you see that primarily with the methylcobalamin form, helping the body to kind of convert that homocysteine that's created from methionine, which is an amino acid. Right. That methionine kind of turns into homocysteine, and sometimes it gets stuck there if you don't have enough. It can
build up too.
Right, it can build up and start damaging blood vessels. Linked with cardiovascular disease. And so we do see that methylcobalamin helps to keep that homocysteine.
Keep it moving in the right reaction, the right direction, keeping homocysteine levels low. As a matter of fact, what was this? A meta-analysis, that's when you pull a bunch of studies together, right? Over 23,000 subjects found a 27% greater risk of mortality from any cause during 14 years of follow-up among men and women with high homocysteine levels.
Right. So
that's a 27% greater risk of mortality from any cause.
Yes. And so really when you start thinking about, and I'm kind of jumping ahead, but when you're looking at, do I need a little more B12? You can measure homocysteine, because homocysteine levels rise quickly.
Yeah, that's
when you don't have enough B12.
Good point. You can actually manage B12 levels by managing homocysteine. Because when you start taking B12, this is true too, lab tests become a little iffy with B12, right?
Right. Well, they're not designed to measure B12 that's added into a routine. The lab tests are usually designed to identify people who are truly deficient. And be like the vegans that aren't kind of making sure they're adding it into their routine, and people with other health conditions where they just can't absorb it. Yeah, so
we were talking about the shots, right? Where you go to the mall, get your shots. Didn't we find a study that actually compared getting shots from versus taking an oral form, right?
Well, and we have a couple of studies. One was a review article concluded that orally administered B12 was it an effective way to treat B12 deficiency without having to have the discomfort of an injection. Yeah. But there was also a comparison of the injections with lozenges that dissolve under the tongue in over 4,000 participants, and found that the increase in serum levels of B12 was greater and the individuals with the lozenge.
Yeah.
So
Not,
do you really need
do you
the
really
shot?
need the shot? Again, I think you know, if somebody's really low, a shot to get them up, but then maintaining it daily.
Yeah.
I think that's my advice as the MD.
Right, and good. And that was what I was going to say, something about going back to the MD, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if your doctor has measured your B12 and they're suggesting that you need some B12 shots, take it.
Yeah, take it. Because and then eventually they'll try to maintain you on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
There is something too. So testing in the blood for B12, unless you're really low, is not all that accurate,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there's a urine test.
Yes, it's testing a metabolite in the body. MMA is what it's called.
Yeah.
If those levels are high, that means that it's an early indicator of B12 deficiency, kind of like the subclinical B12 deficiency. And so that's another way to catch it early before you start feeling the effects of, you know, not having enough B12 in the body.
Lastly, just talking a little bit about, so we already mentioned vegans as we get older, right? You probably need to fill in that nutritional gap with a daily routine of those active forms of B12. Certain medications you got to be careful with too, right?
Common medications, right? So your acid blocking medications.
I mean,
I could name a whole list.
Millions and millions and millions of adults are on those
One
drugs.
of the most prescribed medications out there, you know, a class of medications. So if you are on any kind of acid blocker, especially long term, which you really shouldn't be.
That's not what they were made for.
Right.
I mean, people are on these things for years and years and years.
And then another one, metformin,
Yeah.
which is commonly used to treat diabetes.
Yeah.
That can also block B12.
Yeah. Now, and metformin is really good as a diabetic drug. So you're not.
Oh, yeah.
It's just working with your doctor to see, you know, maybe I need to build up a better routine, including those active forms of B12, right?
Yes. And then, of course, if you consume alcohol, commonly consume alcohol,
you
then
take some B12.
think about B12.
Take some B12.
Yeah.
I can tell the shot's working on you because the last 2 minutes.
Can't be still.
The last 2 minutes, you were holding onto the chair like you were on a roller coaster. Did you see that? I don't know.
Well,
Did you see that?
I think that shot made there were some other nutrients. There was some B6 and
So it wasn't clear B12. Crystal. So the shot worked for her. I think I feel a little bit. I did, but I only drank half. You drank the whole thing.
You're lost.
So thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Hopefully you got a better idea of what B12 is really doing in the body, those active forms. Probably pretty important for most people to add it to your daily routine. I know I do. I'm pretty sure you do.
Yes.
Yeah. And to learn just more about B12 and other important nutrients, you can go to lifeextension.com/wellness. That's just a great homepage, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of good content, blog articles, that kind of stuff. That's lifeextension.com/wellness. And listen, we go live every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern time. And we'd love for you to join us more and more and more. Please like and share these shows and go ahead and click that interested button.
Yes.
So when we're about to go live, Facebook will tell you, hey, they're about to go live.
And we also stream live on YouTube.
That's right. You can join us on YouTube too. I keep forgetting that. That's right.
Yes.
YouTube as well. That's Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern time. I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
We'll see you next time.